So what I want to say, first of all, is that many, many people and many MDs do not understand the role of exercise in chronic disease. So what researchers have found out, and what I found out independently with my own colleagues and patients, is that people with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or long COVID oftentimes have something called exercise intolerance. In some cases in the medical literature, they call it post-exertional malaise. And the point there is that it's not just inability to exercise, it's also inability to handle stressful situations. And a great story, it was a friend of mine. She said to me, Andrew, I work 8 hours and I think I must have long COVID because I work 8 hours and I'm just so tired. And I didn't tell her that, but that's not long COVID. That's not chronic fatigue syndrome. That's not chronic fatigue. Somebody who works 8 hours and's tired, maybe they're just working too hard. Maybe they're not taking enough breaks, or maybe they have heart disease, or maybe they're just getting over the cold or flu. But chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID looks like this. Well, I thought I could work 8 hours, but after 4 hours, I was going to collapse. I actually had to have somebody drive me home from work because I couldn't even drive. Or this is what chronic fatigue and long COVID sound like. Okay, I pushed through. I don't know. I had to drink like 10 cups of coffee, but my boss wanted me to work 8 hours, even though I'm not feeling well. So I did it. And it took a week to recover. So the body just has limited amount of reserves and the energy just disappears very quickly. Some studies have shown that this fatigue in long COVID is actually very similar and identical to the fatigue in chronic fatigue syndrome. And that is, it appears to be, in Western medicine, it appears to be some damage to the blood vessels. So the blood vessel damage causes this extra fatigue or inability to do physical and emotional activities. Now that's from standard Western medicine. From Chinese medicine standpoint, we look at people's overall qi or energy. So we know this term qi or qi basically means vital energy. So we assess the vital energy by talking to the patient, measuring the patient's pulse, and then also observing them, including looking at their tongue. And by those methodologies, we could just, ascertain somebody's vital energy and treat it accordingly. But one of the things that one of my mentors said a long time ago, when I was new to Chinese medicine, he said that, most people, the average person, should never expend more than 80% of their energy. This whole system, give it all you got, give it 120%. He's saying if you're just a regular person, you should, at the most you should expend is 80% of your energy. Always leave some reserves, right? That way, if your kid has to be driven to emergency room, you have those reserves. If you have to stay up all night to visit a dying relative, you have those reserves. So 80%. Now here's the key: if you have long COVID or chronic fatigue situation, you may only get to 1/10 or 1/4 of your true ability. So what I'm trying to say is, if somebody has chronic fatigue or long COVID and they think they can walk a mile, they're best starting off walking 1/10 or at the most 1/4 of a mile and see how they do. A doctor friend of mine, one of the things he recommends is starting exercise at 5 minutes a day. Every day, though, it's the body's energy system likes this regularity. So his point is, and this is totally, like, I have so much experience with this. Everybody wants to start running, And the people don't want to start running, want to start jogging, right? It's the worst exercise people could possibly do, especially if they're over like 30 or 40, right? Now, walking, that's a great exercise. Almost everybody can do walking. And if you can't do walking, there are alternatives that you can explore with a physical therapist. But the point is, don't give it all you got if you have chronic fatigue syndrome or long COVID. Think about going to 1/10 or 1/4 of your ability. Then you could see how you do. If you don't crash, maybe you can slowly increase that. I need a lot of exercise to control for my muscle health, but also for my oxygen utilization, but mainly for my nerves, right? And I'm really humming when I can do 5 to 10 hours a week of exercise, right? So that means I'm spending 1 to 2 hours a day exercising. But by walking every day, by using stationary bike every day, by doing activities that you love, such as hiking, or maybe you like racket sports, or maybe those type of things, you could slowly build it up. And in my own case, when I developed chronic fatigue syndrome, so I'm used to going 5 to 10 hours a week, right? 1 to 2 hours a day. I got chronic fatigue syndrome, forget the exercise completely, right? And even when I thought I was ready to start a little exercise, I used to go 50 minutes on a stationary bike. I was going 20 minutes on a stationary bike, and I was getting incapacitating headaches. Another time I went 20 minutes on a bike, I had to sleep 12 hours the next day. This is the real stuff of chronic fatigue and long COVID, right? So what I had to do is stop exercising and starting back at 5 minutes a day, or just walking, no stationary bike. So the doctor friend of mine says, the best ways to start exercising, either walking or stationary bike. You start 5 minutes a day, not 6 minutes, 5 minutes a day. If you're really in chronic, if you're elderly, you're in chronic pain, you add 1 minute a week. If you're pretty healthy person, you used to being very active, maybe you can add 1 minute a day, right? So Monday is 5 minutes, Tuesday is 6 minutes. But if you have chronic fatigue syndrome or long COVID or another long haul disease, you'd better start off with more, 5 minutes this week and 6 minutes the next week. To get the most out of exercise, you have to do it when you're clearing your mind. So what I love basketball. I love playing basketball. And the reason I love playing basketball is my mind would evaporate, right? There is no time to think about anything. Everything happens immediately, right? I mean, sometimes you can visualize yourself. I play basketball at a pretty high level, including university level. And you could kind of feel what's happening before it happens. And I was really good at this. And then you just have to act right away. The final thing I want to say is, one of the other lessons of Chinese medicine that's really important is that we are part of nature. So nature is part of our healing, right? In order for our healing, we need some nature, right? I mean, they've even done studies with this. People recover faster in the hospital if they can look out the window and even see a building next door. But it's better if they can see something that's pretty, some greenery or blue. They recover faster. And so it's the same thing. If you could take a walk in nature and just observe, oh, there's a tree, that's a beautiful tree, then you're improving not only your body, but also improving your mind. And when you can tune into how good that feels, it's something you want to do again. It's not like, if you choose an activity you really like, it's not like, oh God, I gotta exercise. It's like, oh my God, I look forward to going for a walk. It's nice out, right? This concludes our podcast for today. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please comment below and let us know what topics you'd like to hear about. And be sure to like and subscribe to help us grow our channel. If you'd like to know more about us, please visit our website at getwellfoundation.org.